Good evening, my name is Jordan Roberts and you're watching What's On, your daily burst of what's happening in and around Sheffield. On the show we'll be chatting to people who make things happen, keeping you updated on the shows and events and generally exploring what keeps the Steel City going strong. Make sure you join us every day at 6:04 on Sheffield Live. In tonight's programme we'll be speaking with Joan Parsons from the Showroom about what's going on there in the organisation's 20th year. And we chat with John Rhino Edwards about his break from status quo and playing with Rhino's Revenge. But first tonight, let's take a look at who's taking the stage in our live music section. If you think you know your music, why not test your skills tonight at the Frog and Parrot? Their weekly Wednesday music quiz is free to enter and you could win a gallon of beer or cash prize. Tomorrow night sees the AMP Awards at the O2 Academy. The Battle of the Bands between the finalists from Sheffield schools will commence at 7 p.m. Head along there to see rising stars Devonshire Green, My Chocolate Revel, Blacklight, The Sea Monsters, Avenir and Data take to the stage. Tickets are a £5. If you'd like to look at our feature this Monday, why not go down to the Lescar tonight and see Montuno. They were a huge success last time they played at this venue, offering audiences a blend of deep funk, Latin jazz and soul. As always, tickets are £5 and doors open at 8:30 p.m. And if that ain't enough jazz for you, unwind this Friday to some jazz at the Millennium Hall. The quartet's fresh from New York, featuring a composer Andrew McCormack and saxophonist Mark Lockhart, who are sure to keep you captivated and on your toes. Tickets are £14 and under. The show starts at 8:30 p.m. That should be enough to keep the eardrums occupied until the weekend. Now let's move on to arts and culture. Now not a lot of people know, but Sheffield has the largest arts collective outside of London. So let's see what's the crack up north. If you feel your musical theatre skills are getting a little rusty, I know mine are, why not head down to the Carney Academy this Thursday, where West End professionals can hone your skills through a series of workshops. That's every Thursday from ages 8 and above at the Montgomery Studio. The women's dance team, who formed in 1975, will be doing their thing this Saturday at the Capel Building, Burton Street Foundation. Pop down at 8 p.m. to see what they're up to. And don't forget the emotional Playing for Time will be on at the Crucible until the 4th of April. The show tells the story of a young lady in a Jewish death camp who finds solace and survival in the camp orchestra. The next show is tonight at 7:30. Ticket prices vary. That's all for arts and culture. Now let's move on to today's feature. We went along to see John Edwards, the bassist from Status Quo and Rhino's Revenge frontman. He was at Corp this weekend. Let's take a look at what went on.
I'm here at Corporation in Sheffield, and as you can see, we've got John Rhino Edwards sound checking with his band Rhino's Revenge, ready for their gig tonight. He's currently taking a break from Status Quo, and I'm going to be chatting to him in just a moment. Right, so your nickname Rhino, why is that?
I'm the James Bond. I'm the international man of mystery on that one, I'm afraid to say.
Oh, really?
And I was given a few years ago, yeah. And only a few people know, and I'm not going to put it out to the greater public at large now.
It's your second to last tour date tonight, isn't it? How's it been so far?
Fantastic. You know, I've got my two sons playing the bass. I'm playing the bass. I've got my son playing guitar, my son playing the drums, and their best mate playing rhythm guitar for me. And they're very cheap. And they're amazing. It's been fantastic. You know, you couldn't get a bit more of a buzz from this, really. You know, and they've got their own band, The Charge, as well. They're opening for us as well. So it's keeping it all in the family. We recorded our album together this year. I did a solo album 15 years ago when I had a break from Quo, and that was called Rhino's Revenge. And this one is imaginatively titled Rhino's Revenge 2. But it took a long time. But it's my son's playing on that as well, which is unbelievable.
I was just about to say, it's been 15 years. How come you've decided to sort of bring it back?
Well, I really loved the first one, and I didn't have any contractual situations or anything. So I just did it as and when I felt like it, because I didn't think there was any point to put out one that wasn't as good as the one I'd done before, or better. And this one is, for me, marks a move on. So I'm very happy to be hauling my ass around the country in a van with my kids again, which is fantastic, but playing really small venues and staying in crummy hotels. But I love the record, and I'm loving the whole experience. It's a real back to the roots thing for me. I'd forgotten how tiring it was, because I used to do it all the time, but now, you know, you get used to doing things at a certain level, and you know, loading gear up in a van at 2 o'clock in the morning, which actually I don't do, I get them to do that, but you know, watching them is tiring enough.
So when can we expect the new album? When's the release?
Well, we're doing a limited edition that we're just selling on here. We just got 500, they're nearly gone now. I think we're looking at May or June. I'm just in discussions at the moment. We don't quite know which way to do it, whether we're going to put it out ourselves or go with a major label. You know, there are options.
Ah. For people that sort of don't know your music, how does it differ to Status Quo?
It's not. It's more lyrically orientated. I think the words of Status Quo can be quite ambiguous. They can be taken in many ways. Whereas mine, every song I've got, you know what it's about, if you like. You know, but it's a really important thing for me. I mean, I've become a grumpy old git as I got older as well, and so I'm just, you know, I rap about what I see. But having said that, I mean, I've written a song about my dog, which sounds really cheesy, but it isn't. It's great. I've got songs about politicians, sex, giving up drugs, not taking drugs. Oh yeah, it's very, very diverse. I mean, possibly too much, but then when it's me, so you know, hey folks, if you like it, fantastic. If you don't, oh well, you know.
I'll have to give it a listen. How do you balance both bands? I mean, obviously you've been ridiculously busy touring around.
Yeah, I mean, we spend anything from 5 to 8 months a year away. But at this instance, Rick Parfitt from Status Quo was out doing something with an orchestra in Europe. So I knew that this time was going to be free. So I spoke to my manager Mike, and I said I'd like to do. Now's the time to do an album and do a tour. I mean, I suppose ideally my album would have been out by now, but you know, we've got plenty of people coming to see us, which I'm very appreciative of.
How does it differ in terms of the venues you play? Is it nice to sort of come back to the smaller ones that maybe you started out performing at, like?
Well, it's fun, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, the first album we launched at the 100 Club in London. We did this a second time. I did this 15 years later for the second one, and in a way it's more nerve-wracking, because you know, well, you can see where we are here. I'm right at the front of the stage. There'll be people standing there side looking at me, you know, and you know, if I make a mistake, they will notice, or if anyone does. And with Quo, it's not impersonal, because you want it to become the sum of the parts, if you will. You really want it to project as one. But in this instance, it's a different way of selling yourself, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, in a venue like this, but it's no less challenging.
I can imagine. So what's next? What's your future with Rhino's Revenge? Do you think you're going to take a step back after this?
I worked out the other day that if I take as long for the next one, I'll be 77 by the time it comes out. So I may do or I may not. I've got 3 days off after this, and then I start back with Status Quo. We're doing an acoustic tour, which in fact is coming to Sheffield, to the City Hall in April. And I'll be working with them throughout the summer, but concurrently with that, we'll be putting this album out. And I know I've got some time off later in the year, so we could be coming back to Sheffield. I'd like to think we were.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we'll have to check it out, and we'll keep an eye out for that. Yeah. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
That was John the Rhino Edwards doing his thing last Saturday. Now let's move on to you, the people in our community. A heads up for the hat stand pop-up shop at the Winter Gardens. Whether you've got a special occasion or you just want to hide your bald spot, they are sure to have something for you. Open from 10:30 while 5:30 until the 30th of March. This Saturday, Sheffield Hallam are housing a lecture on help and healing through the spiritual path. If you want to find out more on how to absorb the divine power, the lecture starts at 1:30 in City Campus. Entrance is free, donations are welcome. The Longley Playgroup are having their regular Wednesday Stay and Play. Aimed at newborns to 5 years old, this non-profit organisation is held at Longley 4G Community Centre from 9:30 every Wednesday. Entry is £1. Next up tonight, in the words of Olivia Newton-John, let's get physical as we move on to sport. Now, what do you get if you mix Pilates with boxing? Piloxing, Hollywood's latest fitness craze, is sure to leave you empowered and balanced. Every Thursday from 6:30 at Altybridge WR Chapel. The elite British Wrestling will be showing the Newton Memorial Brawl at the Newton Memorial Hall this Friday from 6:30. You can see the athletically limitless Solid John Green at this tournament. Family tickets are available, and you can catch an interview with the man himself in next week's What's On. So keep an eye out for that on Monday. Sticking to the fighting theme, why not brush up on your sword skills at the Springs Academy this Friday? Puma will be guiding you through the art of Bartitsu, pugilism, and generally how to be a musketeer. Classes start at 7:20 and your first lesson is free. Now on tonight's programme, we'll be talking to Joan Parsons, the senior programmer from the Showroom. The Showroom has reached its 20th year. Let's find out what they've got planned. Hi Joan, thank you for joining us in the studio today.
It's a pleasure.
We have a couple of questions for you. So Joan, you've been with the Showroom now for 7 years of its 20. How have you enjoyed your experience so far?
Very much. It's the sort of place where there's never a dull moment, and I have often turned my hand to lots of different parts of the organisation and been kept very busy for 7 years.
Good. And what are you going to do to celebrate these 20 years?
So the major thing we're doing is launching a fundraising campaign. We're going to refurbish our cinemas and give them a nice bit of TLC.
Fantastic. How can people get involved with that refurb?
So there's lots of ways to get involved with fundraising. You can buy a plaque for a seat, so you can name your favourite seat. There will be a couple of parties, one in the summer and one in the autumn, so watch this space to find out more party information. And there's a text number, so if everybody texts show 20 £5 to 770, then we get £5 towards the campaign, and that would be very helpful and very appreciated.
Fantastic. So tell us more about the Showroom as a whole. What type of programmes do you try to promote?
The Showroom is one of the country's leading independent cultural cinemas. We play a programme of predominantly specialised films, so it's less mainstream, less Hollywood, lots of British film, lots of foreign language, documentaries, festivals, all sorts.
So you do a lot of things besides show films. Tell us about the other type of things people can see there.
We have quite a lot of what's called event cinema. So this includes live theatre broadcasts from the National Theatre, or the recent one, Hamlet, from the Royal Exchange in Manchester. We have opera from Glyndebourne, and we have ballet all the way from Bolshoi in Russia. So lots of live content streamed onto the cinema screens, but also there's actually lots of live events, lots of people, live music, ways to get involved in film discussion and actually meet people and have interesting kind of spin-off discussions from the films.
Sounds good. So people can see things that they would usually have to travel quite far to go and see, which is
yeah,
nice.
Absolutely.
What would be your top pick for what's coming up?
My top pick is always identified as Film of the Month. So every month we have one film which is one that we absolutely love, and if you're a member you get double loyalty points on that film, so it's a nice way to kind of promote the loyalty for customers to actually come and try out that film. In March the film is Mommy, which is in its second week this week, and is a great film by French-Canadian director Javier Dolan. And then April is still TBC, and so is May, but watch this space, and you can always guarantee that if it's the film of the month, it's one to come and check out.
Brilliant. Now you get quite a lot of high-profile attention. I believe you've got the dreamy Ryan Gosling coming in to do a live satellite interview on April the 9th. He's doing a film, Lost River. How do things like this come about?
So with the advent of satellite technology into cinemas, there's a real opportunity for people to have a slightly different experience with a film that otherwise they'd never be able to have. So Ryan will only do one day in London, and otherwise no one in Sheffield would be able to see that. And then due to satellite technology, we can all take part in a Q&A with Ryan Gosling, which is a really exciting opportunity. Otherwise you'd have to maybe join the crowds at Leicester Square.
Nice to see it in that relaxed environment, I guess. And what can we expect for the rest of the year?
All sorts. Hopefully hitting the streets this week will be our April to June brochure, so you'll be able to check out all the great programme we've got coming up for that. I'm currently working on July to September. We will have a Summer of Polish film curated by Martin Scorsese. So that's quite exciting. All of our normal festivals, obviously DocFest is only really around the corner in June.
Yeah,
so
can't wait.
Looking forward to a good year of exciting programme.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Joan.
Pleasure.
The Showroom Cinema is located just above the station, and you can find what's happening there via their website, www.showroomworkstation.org.uk. Now we come to the last part of tonight's programme, our social media roundup, telling you what's hot on Twitter. Now, with the great success the Peddler was on March 6th and 7th, I'm sure you're all eager to find out their next latest dates. They've tweeted today saying, "Get it in your diary, Peddler will return 1st and 2nd of May with more tantalising treats. Follow @PeddlerMKT for more information." Julia Unwin, @JuliaUnwin, says, "Don't miss Playing for Time at the Crucible Sheffield," as we mentioned earlier. She says it's intense, moving, thought-provoking, brilliant cast. So make sure you catch that tonight. @TinFinBin, saying, "At a performance of Playing for Time, Sheffield #Crucible," and he says Sam Phillips is amazing. Sarah Marks @HHJTinyGems is saying, "Great evening watching at John Covey's seminar at the Showroom Sheffield last night. #Sheffield is super." It sure is. That's all for tonight's programme. If you have an event you want to tell us about, please email us on whatsonsheffield@sheffieldlive.org, or you can contact us on Twitter @SheffieldLive or #whatsonsheffield. Coming up next on Sheffield Live, we have our daily news programme. Tomorrow, we'll be back, same place, same time. Thanks for watching, Sheffield. Good night.